Before we begin, tell me in the comments where you're tuning in from. Asterisk, maybe you believe youth holds all the energy, and age holds all the wisdom. Asterisk, maybe. You think success belongs to your prime years when strength and experience meet. Asterisk, maybe it has never crossed your mind that your exact age right now could be the missing key. I've chased my entire career. Asterisk, if any of that sounds like you. This message is for you. Asterisk, I want to share a discovery I made after studying data from more than 10 million users across my platforms. Asterisk. It changed how I see human potential and clarified why I build the companies I build. Asterisk, it revealed a pattern so strong and so obvious that it now guides every major decision I make about technology and the future of our civilization. Asterisk, this is not about electric cars, space missions, social media, or any specific technical project. It is about something more basic and more personal. It's the realization that your present age carries a distinctive mix of strengths, qualities I have tried to reproduce through hiring, team design, and organizational strategy. Asterisk, and that understanding this could transform how we think about human development and social progress. Asterisk, today. I want to share this insight because most people underestimate the value of the life stage they are in, wishing to be younger or older instead of using what they already have. Asterisk. But the data showed something remarkable. Asterisk. Every age has unique, irreplaceable advantages that do not appear at any other time in life. Asterisk. Recognizing those advantages is the key to unlocking both personal potential and collective progress. Asterisk. This discovery began when I examined engagement patterns across Twitter, Tesla's customer feedback, and SpaceX's education programs. Asterisk. I wanted to know why some messages resonated with certain groups, and why some innovations spread fast while others met resistance. Asterisk. What emerged challenged almost everything I thought I knew about growth and ability. Asterisk. Human development is not a straight line where capability increases forever, nor a simple curve that peaks in the 20s and declines after. Asterisk. The pattern was more nuanced and encouraging. Asterisk. Each age group displayed distinct cognitive and emotional strengths that complemented the strengths of other groups. Asterisk. Even more, these strengths looked like optimal adaptations for different kinds of problems and opportunities. Asterisk. People in their 20s excelled at exploration and risk, and they were quick to question assumptions, often the spark behind breakthrough ideas. Asterisk. But they sometimes lacked the patience and long-range strategy needed to execute complex visions. Asterisk. Those in their 30s and 40s combined stamina and experience, ideal for building and scaling big projects, yet they could become so focused on constraints that they struggled to imagine the truly radical. Asterisk. People in their 50s and 60s brought deep perspective and systems thinking, seeing downstream effects others missed, though they could be overly cautious about disruptive bets. Asterisk. The most surprising finding was about those over 60. Asterisk. The data showed a rare blend I had been trying to engineer through hiring and structure. Asterisk. Pattern recognition across long horizons, emotional intelligence forged by decades of relationships, and a freedom from conventional career pressure that enables independent judgment. Asterisk. Women over 60, in particular, showed the highest levels of what I can only call practical wisdom. Asterisk. They could hold technical detail and human impact in mind at once. Asterisk. They were the most likely to ask the question that exposes a fatal flaw, and the most willing to champion an idea that truly serves people. Asterisk. I realized this was what I had been seeking all along. Asterisk. The ability to merge analytical clarity with an accurate read of human nature, to balance optimism about what tech can do with realism about how to make it work, and to prioritize long-term human flourishing over short-term metrics. The deeper I went, the clearer it became that my obsession with the perfect teammates, advisors, and collaborators was an attempt to reproduce abilities that naturally arise in people who have lived through multiple decades of success, failure, change, and connection. I had been trying to build organizations that think with the pattern recognition of a 70-year-old, the emotional intelligence of someone who has raised children and kept long partnerships, and the perspective of someone who has watched economies, societies, and technologies cycle again and again, but the data showed those abilities already exist in abundance among older adults, consistently undervalued in a culture fixated on youth and disruption. That insight changed how I innovate and solve problems. Instead of swapping wisdom for raw energy, I began designing teams that amplify and distribute insight that accrues with lived experience. I started looking for advisors and contributors with long-term perspective and hard-earned emotional intelligence, rather than prioritizing only speed and technical prowess. The impact was immediate. Projects stuck for years moved when teams included people whose patience, judgment, and relationship skills tend to peak later in life. I also realized my push for Mars and sustainable energy isn't only about survival, it's about building a civilization that uses the full spectrum of human capability at every age, instead of wasting the wisdom we gather over time. Right now, many societies waste human potential. We invest heavily in the first 20 years, rely on energy and skill in the middle decades, and then ignore accumulated wisdom in the final decades, precisely when pattern recognition and systems understanding mature. That's like building a rocket and discarding the guidance system just as it becomes most reliable. We are sidelining the very capacities that could solve our hardest problems: climate change, inequality, sustainable development, and peaceful cooperation. What I've been trying to achieve through my companies is the ability to think and act with the long view, the emotional depth, and the pattern recognition that emerge after many cycles of growth and adversity. Ironically, what I chased organizationally already exists in communities everywhere, but we undervalue it because we prize youth and short-term output over wisdom and long-term thinking. This realization reshaped every part of my work. At Tesla, we now draw far more on people who understand the cultural and social realities that decide whether a technology sticks over time. They've lived through multiple tech waves and can tell which ideas create real value and which ignore how people actually live. At SpaceX, mission planning benefits from those who have witnessed several revolutions in technology and grasp the human factors that determine whether grand projects endure. Space is not only about engineering, it's about forming resilient human communities in extreme environments, something mastered by people who have spent decades maintaining relationships and adapting under pressure. Even my approach to Twitter changed after learning from users whose emotional intelligence and communication skills were honed by decades of navigating relationships. The platform works best when it strengthens genuine connection and constructive dialogue skills that mature with time. The kind of wisdom I was seeking isn't taught in a classroom or found in a manual. It forms through the non-replaceable experience of decades relationships, challenges, wins, losses, and the perspective that comes from seeing outcomes play out over the long arc. Parents understand implementation gaps in ways many brilliant 20-somethings can't. Years of caring for real needs show the distance between theory and practice. Those who have sustained marriages or long partnerships know collaboration, compromise, and conflict resolution at a level no seminar can teach. People who have built careers over decades know the difference between buzz and progress. They've watched flashy revolutions fizzle and learn to spot what truly improves life. Whatever your age, you carry strengths no other stage can replicate. If you're young, you have energy and a willingness to challenge assumptions others accept. If you're in midlife, you hold the ideal mix of capability and experience to execute complex plans. If you're older, you possess the perspective to solve problems that have baffled faster younger teams for years. The crucial insight is that these strengths are complementary, not competitive. The best solutions emerge when communities combine the gifts of every age rather than elevating one and dismissing the rest. That understanding led me to rebuild how I think about talent. Instead of hiring first for narrow skills or pedigree, I now prioritize teams that represent the full arc of human development. Innovation compounds when you fuse youthful audacity with seasoned judgment, midlife drive with the patience that comes from living through many cycles. I'm launching something called the Wisdom Council, a network of 1,000 people over 60 from around the world Who will advise on my company's most critical work? Asterisk. They won't be symbolic figures. Asterisk. They'll be active contributors whose accumulated wisdom and long view are essential for decisions that shape humanity's future. Asterisk. They'll evaluate not only technical feasibility, but the cultural and social consequences over time. Asterisk. They'll bring a kind of strategic thinking you only gain by living through multiple eras and seeing how technology reshapes relationships and institutions. Asterisk. The selection focuses on people who have sustained relationships, adapted through change, and served their communities over long periods. Asterisk. Not necessarily celebrities or award winners, but people with hard-earned practical wisdom from decades of real problem-solving and supporting others. Asterisk. The aim is not to slow innovation, but to ensure rapid change serves long-term human flourishing, not just impressive quarterly metrics. Asterisk. The most durable innovations account for human nature as it actually is, not as we wish it were. Asterisk. That requires input from those who have watched behavior across generations and can predict which changes will stick and which will be rejected. Asterisk. Take Tesla's autonomous driving. Asterisk. We gain hugely from drivers with 40 or 50 years on the road who understand the subtle social and psychological patterns of transportation. Asterisk. They spot issues younger engineers might miss, how older passengers may respond to full automation, or how family life changes design requirements. Asterisk. For SpaceX and a future on Mars, we learn from people who know how to build and maintain communities under stress through military service, remote deployments, or years of holding neighborhoods and organizations together. Asterisk. Technical hurdles are obvious. Human ones are decisive. Asterisk. For Twitter, content policy benefits from veterans of community building, conflict mediation, and civil discourse skills refined over decades of real-world communication. Asterisk. The pattern across all this is clear. Our biggest challenges need more than clever tech. Asterisk. They require a deep understanding of human nature, social dynamics, and long-term effects wisdom that forms through long experience. Asterisk. Inequality isn't only economics. It's psychology and culture. Asterisk. Changing it requires people who've worked across communities and know how change actually happens. Asterisk. Sustainable development demands balancing capability with acceptance, feasibility with the environment, global coordination with local autonomy. Asterisk. Those trade-offs require judgment that only years of hard decisions can teach. We've confused energy with wisdom and novelty with progress. This youth-obsessed mindset produces technically dazzling solutions that miss real needs, or that fail to endure. Asterisk. We optimize for short-term metrics while ignoring what determines long-term success and well-being. Asterisk. That isn't just wasteful, it's counterproductive. Asterisk. The greatest problems demand the full range of human capability, including the perspective that only decades can provide. Asterisk. Your age is not a barrier to remove or a limit to accept. It is a source of value the world urgently needs. Whether you are 20 or 70, you possess something no other age can offer, and understanding that could transform your life and your contribution. Asterisk. The future I'm working toward isn't one where the young replace the old. Asterisk. It's one where technology amplifies the strengths of every stage of life. Asterisk. A civilization that blends the bold energy of youth, the peak productivity of midlife, and the wisdom of experience to tackle complex problems together. Asterisk. That means building systems that value contribution by the strengths of each life stage, not systems that favor one age and waste the rest. Asterisk. For individuals, it means recognizing the advantages of your current age while preparing for the different contributions you'll be able to make as you grow. Asterisk. If you're young, cultivate bold thinking and healthy risk while building the skills and relationships that will support bigger roles later. Asterisk. If you're in midlife, use your prime mix of energy and experience to deliver ambitious work and start developing the longer perspective that will matter more each year. Asterisk. If you're older, know that your perspective is not a consolation prize. It's an irreplaceable capability, essential to solving humanity's hardest problems. Asterisk. The key is not only seeing these strengths in yourself, but finding the projects and communities that can use them. Asterisk. Share this with someone who needs to know their current age. Has a value no other stage can provide? Asterisk. Share it with someone discouraged about getting older or frustrated at being too young to be heard. Asterisk. If these ideas help you think differently about growth, aging, and how individual strengths feed collective progress, subscribe. Asterisk. And remember, what I've been searching for through technology may already be in your community, your family, and your own lived experience. Asterisk. The real question isn't whether you have something valuable to give. Asterisk. It's whether you can name your unique contribution and share it well. Asterisk. Your age reveals what I've been looking for, the precise mix of energy, experience, and wisdom your life stage provides. Asterisk. The world needs exactly what you have right now, at the age you are, more than you realize.